Mhm.
And we are live.
Hi.
Hi.
How's it
So
going?
good to have you hanging out with us tonight. Thank you so much for making the time. Um, I think our conversation can make a lot of people smile tonight, and I appreciate you doing this for us. So, this
Yeah.
is Tyce Diorio, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Um, Welcome again.
Thanks.
Tyce, you and I go back a long way.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tell everybody this story. I don't even know if you're going to remember it, but I'll say it because I think it's really cool. I'm running, it may have been American Dance Spectrum. I'm probably in my 20s. We start this competition in Connecticut on a weekday. This kid walks in, hands me a tape. And you said to me on that day, I remember this. You said, yes, you and your brother should have won on Star Search.
I said that.
Yeah. Because we were Star Search losers, and you had not yet been on Star Search. Okay, you said that. And then you went up on the stage and you danced. And it was Linda Bate who had entered you.
Yeah.
And you danced just this one solo and you kicked everyone's butt on day one.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, wow, look at this kid. Okay. And you turned out to be one of those independent entries at a dance competition that most people don't like very much. But I want to say to everybody listening, because we're in a retrospect mood right now,
Mm.
that here's one of those independent kids who walked into a dance competition and wowed everybody, who now is, somebody everybody looks up to. How cool is that?
I mean, hearing that is funny because, yeah, I remember the competition. I remember you. I remember saying, yeah, I do remember saying that to you. But yeah, I mean, I showed up with Linda, my dance teacher from Brooklyn. Yeah, and I just wanted to be on the stage. So, but that's a
Uh,
good, it's a good story because it's really relevant now to what's going on in the climate of dance and competitions and conventions. Yeah.
what can I tell you another thing that I think is so cool? I told you before I had something I wanted to say that was cool, but I didn't want to tell you what it was.
Yeah.
So I remember the kid who went into that dance competition, and then today I decided to go on Wikipedia. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, I got to catch up because I know this guy in a different way than the rest of the world knows this guy.
Mhm.
I want to know what is like something that warms my heart is that the first thing, or it says under career on here on Wikipedia, he performed in a contemporary take on the Nutcracker called Nuts and Crackers in Boston, Massachusetts, with dancer Nancy O'Mara, also a former Miss Dance of America. I want you to know this because I'm in this mood. If my mother were here today and she opened your Wikipedia page and saw this nuts and cracker thing that she created long before other people were creating nutcrackers that were different,
Yeah.
she'd be so proud that that was what is starting off this Wikipedia page.
That's interesting. I don't go to Wikipedia really. I've seen it, but I don't remember anything.
All right,
But
but that's it.
that that's very cool. I mean, nuts and crackers, man. Wow. Yeah, and like that's where I like came to Boston after I'd won Mr. Dance of America with Nancy, and got to work with your mother closely, but
So I'll throw that at you right now because it just means something to me. Sherry Gold, what was it like working with her?
like, obviously I don't have to tell you about your mother, but like for me, from afar, when I had seen you and your brother dance, when I had seen Nancy O'Mara dance, when I had seen one of the best dancers, I think, in 100 years of knowing what was out there, Jodie Goodman.
Oh my God, she will be so happy to hear you say that.
Jodie Goodman, in truth, is imprinted in my mind, stamped in my mind, because I saw her at Broadway Dance Center in Frank Hatchett's class and had heard so much about her. But then I had gotten to work with her and know her in California, and I knew that your mother trained her. Jodie Goodman, hands down, till this day, is one of the finest dancers in 100 years of dancers that I've seen on TV, on television, on stage. Jodie Goodman, for sure, and Nancy O'Mara too. And your mother trained these dancers, and then when I had gotten to work with her, it was a whole. I'd spent some time in Boston working on the show, and every day in the studio, and it was your
It
mother.
wasn't your normal choreographer
Oh,
person.
no, but it was so good. But it's, the thing that comes up is I loved and I always gravitated towards female teachers, and through my life were female teachers that, and even as friends of mine, female teachers who taught had that energy of like, I don't know, but like when you think of Nancy O'Mara, the way she danced, and just the women through my life, even Jackie Slight, who I studied with, these were women that taught like men, taught you to dance like, and then and embodied like female and male.
Could teach men.
Yeah, they could teach men, but they had the energy. They had this energy, not like, it was just like it was tough. I loved a tough woman who could teach.
Yeah, I agree. My mother she could teach men, and
Yeah.
Jackie Slight can teach men. The
And
people.
so could my teachers, and all the teachers that I have been, Marguerite Derricks,
Yes.
all these women are, powerful women is what I really mean. The women that I was just drawn to, just even in general in my whole life, just even working with like Paula Abdul, working with Janet Jackson, working with, Taylor Swift, working with Debbie Allen. These are women that paved the way and that really had something to say. And, just, I don't know, but your mother, back to your mother, your mother really like taught me so much,
I want to say this to you. I know we'll go back to my mother. Maybe we'll go back later, but I want to say this. You say those women
Mm-hmm.
are leaders, groundbreaking. I can't actually remember the word, but you make them look that way as a choreographer. So pat yourself on the back. And I don't mean they don't do it themselves, but
Yeah,
do
totally.
you get it?
I do get it.
Okay, so now I want to go somewhere since you brought up strong women.
Mm-hmm.
Linda Bate, now known as Linda Bate Machado. What comes to your mind when I say her name?
Oh. Oh, that's so weird. Like, because I didn't expect it to, yeah, just, yeah.
What does the yeah mean? Because I'm the guy who wants to dig deep, and it's okay. And I'll name another name because you could put them together for me and what they meant as a young dancer. Rachel.
I feel like I'm on like
You are,
I know,
and
I know,
this is real, my friend.
I know. It just makes me a little emotional, and I wasn't really prepared, but
Bear with me. I told you to go with me when we
I,
started this.
yeah, I don't know. I have to gather my thoughts.
I'll come back.
Yeah, I mean,
Here's a question, and I will come back because I'm not letting it go, but
yeah,
you can gain a little more, whatever you're gonna need.
yeah.
I've always wondered this, and a lot of people have wondered, and now I know the answer. Tell everybody who knows you how you started off as Keith, became Tyce, what it means to you, and maybe is it your mother? Do you mind going there?
No, yeah. Well, this is a good question because it's a little bit it well, people know me as like, growing up as Keith Diorio, but what people don't know, and what people don't know, I mean, most of my friends know, most people know, but it's like what people don't realize is that my mother intended for my name to be Tyce. She named me Tyce when I was born, but my father didn't like it, and so he just called me Keith, and that's just what it was. And I do remember my mother telling me specifically that when she named my brother Reed, my father was like, because my mother, okay, let's just say my mother was creative. She worked in hair and makeup, and she was very artistic and creative. My dad worked with his hands and went to work, and both amazing parents, but I obviously my connection, strong connection was to my mother. So when she told me she named me Tyce, and I always felt like in the name Keith, I never felt I didn't love the name.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why I didn't love this name. I just felt like it was something I had. And then when she had shared that story with me, she said, "Yeah, I named you Tyce, but your dad, didn't like it." And so we and then I just was like, well, my name is Tyce. That's the name you intended for me. So that is my name. And I felt more in my skin as Tyce. And people don't know that. So some people, it's interesting, like people will, say to me, "Oh, I can't, and I'm like, but
They can't get over calling you Keith.
yeah, so I just don't really,
Okay, in defense of those people,
yeah,
every once in a while, even though I have to catch myself, I want to call you that. So sometimes
yeah,
it's not
I,
intentional.
I
But
do
I
know.
want to ask you, because there's more to the story, and I'm digging.
Yeah.
At what point did you go, okay, I'm Tyce? And who was it? How was it that influenced you to go, I'm doing this?
No, it was my mother just sharing the
Yeah,
story.
but wasn't it Janet Jackson or something wanting you
People,
to have a different
nope,
name?
nope, not true. People have decided in their minds that's the story, but that's not the story. And so,
I feel like TMZ here.
yeah, no, it's not it. No, I just shared the story with when I was on tour with the Velvet Rope, with the amazing tour, my group of friends, all the dancers, and we just share stories, and we'd learned about each other, and people, and I was already Tyce, but I just had shared the story, and then it was just, yeah, it was just more known out in the entertainment industry, in the dance world.
Okay, let's swing to another place.
Yeah.
What made you walk into a dance studio for the first time? How did that happen? That little Tyce walked into that dance studio.
Well, my cousin, my cousin, my mom's sister, was an actor, a well-known actor, and had done very well. Was on Broadway in Torch Song Trilogy with Harvey Fierstein, and appeared on a very popular show called Welcome Back, Kotter, and did some films. And you were so close, and um, he went up to a studio. He was an actor, so he would go up to a studio in Manhattan. I think it was Phil Black's dance
I
studio.
remember, yeah.
Yeah, a jazz legend, if I'm correct.
You
And
are correct.
yeah, and so he would go up and take classes, and he had shared with me that the classes were packed and filled, and he used to take dance. And he said, I met this woman in class named Linda Abate, and he says she has a school in Brooklyn.
Was she taking the class herself?
Yes,
Yeah, cool.
because Linda and Rachel and Margaret, my three loves of my life, um, they would dance up in Manhattan and come back to Brooklyn and bring us all that greatness. And then, and that's how they created their choreography. They would go get motivated and inspired like we all do now, go take class, and then we create and
I
find our.
want to say I hope Linda's listening, because I just pictured her dancing in Phil Black's class with windows open in a hot summer day with sweat flying all over the place. And let's call it a jumpsuit jazzy outfit. I'll tell you this real fast, then we're going to get back to you. I can't remember if it was Rennie or I went into a Phil Black class. I think it was Rennie. And Rennie was taking the class, and he was wearing a Superman shirt, and he did something wrong. In my mind, it may have been he like danced into a pole. Okay, so wait. So Phil Black, who he had a reputation for not being the kindest man with words, said, "Does that stand for stupid shit on your shirt?" To my little brother. My little brother, my twin brother. Now I know it was him, but that's a memory I have of Phil Black, New York City.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
I just remember. Yeah, and so my cousin met Linda, and then he told me about Horizons Dance Center, and I went and took a class. Oh, wait, no. Okay, hold on. Sorry. And Linda had two studios, one on Kings Highway in Brooklyn, and one in one location at Sheepshead Bay. And Margaret worked at I think they all worked at each place, but attached to Horizons Dance Center was New York Hustle, which was a ballroom studio connected to Horizons Dance Center. Now, Linda and Margaret, friends of theirs, and they were very in the world of ballroom and hustle dancing. And I remember, I went to do the ballroom first. I went to New York Hustle. Yeah, and I
bet you were like this cute little hustle ballroom dancer.
Well, we did cha-cha, we did foxtrot, we did ballroom, and we did hustle, we did swing, and so I was there. I remember Rachel and Linda and Margaret coming through and looking and watching me. There was a show, and then we went into a ballroom competition, and my partner, her name was Jennifer. We went to this ballroom competition with kids, and so that's how it started. And then connected to the studio, you just walk right through, and there was Horizons. So I ended up. They said, "Oh, you have to come take a class." So I went and I took Margaret's class, and fell in love. And then and that's how that all started.
Tell us about coming in this a different way. Tell us about those first teachers, Margaret, those teachers.
Linda, Margaret, and Rachel. It's like, I don't even know where to begin. It's just not even, it's like I have no words, because it's so part of my childhood. Yeah. It's like, just I can't even formulate the words.
Honestly, I appreciate that, because you know what?
I don't know the words.
Sometimes it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
What people mean, you can't do it in words. But I hope I know one of them isn't necessarily listening, but you never know.
Oh, they are. All of them.
All of them. I think that about my mom all the time. She's listening. She's watching. Your mom's watching. Your father's watching. You know that, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean, this is so weird, but this was not planned. But I'm sitting in my guest room, which is an office at my house, and I sit down and I just pick. There's a bunch of pictures here. I don't know why, and this picture literally came up like 5 minutes before we went live on this, and it's me and Linda and Rachel. And it's like, it was weird because I was like, because I haven't even gotten to my office yet to, how everybody's like organizing and cleaning and doing things right now in this time that you have time to do, but I haven't gotten to my office and this guest room. And so I just literally like reached in and I don't know, this was there. So I was like, oh wow, it's amazing.
A big part of our audience here since we started this, I don't know how long ago, are teachers and studio owners, and know that your words, even if they're few, your emotions, I'm hoping that all of those teachers and studio owners know what an influence and an impact they have. Whether you become a Tyce Diorio or you become the best doctor in New York.
Yeah.
It's the truth. All right, so tell me if I'm wrong, if maybe this is TMZ-ish, I don't know, but I want to know. I thought one time, a long time ago, you and I were talking and you said there's one thing I want to do, and that's to be on Broadway, like to be featured. I don't know if you said the star.
Oh, wow.
Okay, it was before you were who you are or who you become and who you're still becoming, by the way. You said, I want to do this Broadway. That will make me happy. And then I don't know if I'm right, and there'll be some people who say, how come he doesn't know that? Chicago or all that jazz, you landed in a role where you were in that place. Am I right?
Yes, but my Broadway debut was in Fosse on Broadway.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you had that in your mind. This is important for people that are listening.
Yeah.
You had that in your mind. You were working on your career in a lot of other really positive places. How did it feel, and how did you pull it off that you achieved that?
Well, I was on tour with Janet Jackson. I remember on the Velvet Rope tour, and we passed through Boston, actually, which is very.
I love that Boston keeps coming up here.
Yeah.
Yay, Boston.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We passed through Boston, and I remember, and I had a few friends, and my absolute biggest like inspiration, like in dance, like a dancer who, like, I don't know, she just is somebody who I think is one of those, she goes into the category of one of the finest in 100 years, but she's like one of my biggest inspirations is Marianne Lamb. And she was
yes.
Yeah. And so, and a very dear friend, and Lisa Gaida, who was in the show. I told my friend Gil Duldalau, who's Janet Jackson's choreographer, I said, I
know Gil. He's a good guy doing good things.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I said, come with me. We're going to go see this show, Fosse. And he was like, okay. So I took him. We went, I got a ticket. We had a day off. We went to go see Fosse, and
That's perfect. That's perfect, because this is up close and personal. Do you mind shutting that off for a little while so we can?
Oh my God. It's my friend Melanie, who I love.
Okay, hit that button and tell Melanie to, leave us alone for a little while. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, it's good. So we went to go see Fosse, and I saw this brilliant show that I lost my breath. We both did. We were like, oh. And I saw Desmond Richardson in this role, and I literally looked at the stage and said, I'm going to do that. I didn't know how. And I was like, I'm going to do that.
How long before you did it was that?
So I got off, we were nearing the end of the tour, Janet Jackson's tour, and I went back to New York. No, sorry. I went back to Los Angeles. I was in Los Angeles at home where I live. And I had heard that there was an audition, and Fosse had just opened up on Broadway because they were like doing an out of town tryout. This Boston, where it was in Boston. So it was the out of town before it opened up on Broadway. It opens up on Broadway, and the Tony Awards are nearing for Broadway. I think Desmond received a Tony nomination, and I'm home in LA, and I get a call from my agent, and they say, there's an audition for Fosse. They're putting the national tour together. And I knew in my mind, this is the way you get into a Broadway show. You have to get in front of, because obviously Anne Reinking and all the creators and creatives were going to be there. So I was like, I flew to New York, and I went to Horizons, and Rachel and Linda knew I was going to audition for this, and I remember I just was,
Wait, I got to back you up. Your first instinct was to go home to where you came from.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
And so I knew the audition was coming up. I went to the call. I danced. They taught Blackbird. They taught us various Fosse iconic pieces, and then they cut, and then I came back the next day. I sang. I danced some more, and then Anne Reinking sent a few of us in the other room to go learn something specific. And I was like, okay. So I went into the other room with all these other classically trained ballet dancers, concert dancers from the American Ballet Theater, Joffrey, various other amazing companies. And there I was, and I wasn't in a ballet company, but I knew that this part was created for a classically trained dancer. And so we went in the other room. I learned 4 to 5 counts of 8 of the percussion 4 solo. That was originally in the production of Bob Fosse's Dancin' on Broadway, which was before I was dancing. And so, but I knew the show. And so I learned the choreography, and then I went to Brooklyn that night, and I went into the studio with Rachel, I remember, and I was like, okay, you have to watch this. I have to do this. I put the attire on. I had it all in my mind how it was going to go, and I danced it for hours until I felt like I was ready, and then I went to the callback, and Anne Reinking was Nicole Fosse, and we were in the room, and there was probably about 10 of us guys in that room learning that and performing that part.
All excellent dancers, right?
Top notch. I was intimidated, but I just knew I had something to do. I had work to do, and she put us in twos to show her. So we danced it in twos, and I think we only did it once.
Really?
Yes. And I remember seeing the show, and I remember at the end of the percussion 4 solo that Desmond did this traveling chassé to a turning switch something. It went that way, and it was obviously as magnetic.
You were a switch split king. I just want our audience to know as we're listening.
But let's just be clear, it was not a switch leap like you see.
I get it. I get it. But you were the king. You can take that. Yeah, I know you like it. Go ahead. Keep going with the story.
Anyway, so did this beautiful jump and finished with his arms open, and he said, "That's all, folks." And then he got up, he stands up, and that's part of the choreography. And he's like in this lunge and said, "That's all, folks." And then he gets up, and then he doesn't bow, but then he exits the stage as if that's the bow. And so I knew that. So I did whatever. And so I do this part of the choreography with the other guy next to me. We're dancing. And I did what I knew from the show, but we didn't learn it. So I did it. And I had a finished finished performance, and I felt good about it. And okay, so cut to 2 weeks later, got a call, and they said, my agent said, okay, you booked the national tour, Fosse, and they're going to be rehearsing in Chicago. And it's going to be quite a long period of rehearsal. And so I remember, and I asked lots of questions, and I was like, well, so I guess it was known. I'm pretty sure they said that none of the parts are going to be assigned until you're in rehearsal. They'll be assigned as you're in rehearsal, obviously.
Really? So you had no idea?
No, so nothing was known, and you're going to be in Chicago for quite a long time for the rehearsal process. But in my mind, if I'm being honest, I felt unsettled, and I don't know why. And it was a very pivotal moment in my life, in my career, because it was something I wanted to do more than anything. I would have pulled the curtain if, for the show, just to get into a Broadway show, especially Fosse. And I just felt, I felt very unsettled by the fact that I would be going to Chicago and just not knowing. I didn't know in my mind, maybe I don't know. I'd never done Broadway. I didn't know how it worked. So I wasn't sure that I would be happy, but something in my spirit felt very unsettled. So I actually called my agent. I was in tears, and I actually said, I'm really sorry, but I can't do this.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I said, I can't do this. I'm struggling with this because it's what I wanted to do more than anything in life, in my creative life. I wanted to be on Broadway and dance this iconic work and work with Anne Reinking and all those amazing dancers. So I said, I'm gonna take my chances. I'm not gonna do this because I believe that something good is going to come of it, and I don't know what it is. I literally had no information as to what, but I knew that in my soul and in my spirit that I couldn't do this. So I turned it down. I was in tears, and I was very sad. And then about 2 weeks later, my friend Lisa Gaida called me. She was in the show on Broadway. She had just done the Tonys, and she said, oh my God, did you hear? And I said, did I hear what? She's like, you're coming to do Fosse on Broadway. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Wait, you had not heard it. She heard it before you heard it.
Yeah, and I got a call, and they said, my agent called me and said, you're being offered Desmond's role on Broadway, and they need you there in 2 weeks. So
wow.
I literally fell to the floor. I don't know what happened. I had an out of body experience, and it was so incredible because it showed me that you just have to stay connected to your
instinct,
DNA, even though it's so hard because it's a whole. This is something that we could talk very, very long about. But I feel like, even though, dancers, we're conditioned a certain way to do what they say, behave and do but sometimes you have to listen to your gut instincts, even though it goes against everything that is the norm, everything that is, let's say, you're supposed to do it this way, you're supposed to do that, but sometimes I think as artists, you just have to break the rules and make your in the best way possible. I mean, in the best way possible. I don't mean that in a way that's can be misunderstood. I mean that yes, everything pointed towards you take this show, you want this show, you want to have this experience, you go and you do it, and that's where it goes. But I just didn't see that and feel that for myself, and the universe and my connection to whatever, my spirituality, God, whatever you want to call it, I knew that this did not feel right. And I knew, and I'm so connected to the source in my soul, and whatever, I don't even have the words for it, but I knew that I could not go and do that. And what
Okay.
was, I went to Broadway, and I got to experience what I,
You've said so much. I want to ask you this question. In a second, I want to ask you about the soul thing. But what was the first night like, opening night, when I know you probably worked your ass off, right?
well, it was amazing. I mean, the best part of Fosse, and people probably don't care about this, but I feel
Yeah, they do. They do.
like
Go.
so boring. But well, let's go to the fact that we had a put-in rehearsal, which was horrifyingly scary. I'd never.
I don't know what a put-in rehearsal is. Tell us.
A put-in rehearsal is where the whole cast comes in on their day off, and you're the only one doing it in your costume and singing, and they're standing around with their coffee, marking the show, and just their day off, and you're just because the put-in rehearsal is for you. So I was being put into the show, and it was like so scary. And so but the funny thing and the most amazing feeling, and so many stories that are wrapped into these beautiful memories for me, is that in my put-in rehearsal, and everyone's different in how they, when you go into a show, you're replacing someone or whatever, everyone's different. It's a beautiful take on the material. And I went in, and the best part of one of the most amazing moments of my career is I got a standing ovation from the cast for the percussion 4 solo. And I didn't feel ready.
During this, what did you call it?
It's a put-in rehearsal.
Okay, during the put-in rehearsal, you got the standing ovation?
I got a standing ovation, and Marianne Lamb ran up, dove onto the stage, and attacked me. It was the greatest feeling of my entire career, because I met Marianne when I was 15, and I felt like it was a God. I felt like I was, how religious people feel like they're experiencing God? That's how I felt.
Wow.
That's simple.
I know that you might think, well, people don't want to hear that story. I think that what you're talking about tonight is the real life of who we are as dancers. We're all the same. The successes may be in different degrees.
Yeah.
So, tell me about the soul thing. Nobody's probably ever asked you about that before, so I'll go there. I know you are into what is your soul telling you? What made you get there? What does it mean to you?
Well, I think when I moved, when I didn't move to LA, but I went to LA for 2 weeks. I was from New York, born and raised, trained.
How old?
I would say 18.
Okay, go.
Right from winning the DMA time of my life, and meeting Nancy O'Mara and all that. I went to LA for 2 weeks, and I was doing a Levi's industrial, and I was brought.
I remember it.
Yeah, I came to LA for 2 weeks to do a Levi's industrial at the LA Convention Center. Yeah, and I'm in this rehearsal with all of these LA dancers that have later become all of my friends. And I'm in this rehearsal with these great dancers, and I'm the only guy from New York. And there was one girl in the cast. It was a big cast, everybody from LA. And this girl named Dana, she said to me, if you need a ride back to you don't have a car. I didn't have a car. I was just staying at a hotel nearby, and we were rehearsing at the Joe Tremaine studio, and whatever. And she said, I'll take you back. So she took me back to the hotel, and we would sit and talk a lot about spirituality and God. And she's like, yeah, if you want, come to church with me. She was a lover of God, and she had a lot of faith, and a lot of, she was a Christian, and she looked like Liza Minnelli. She was beautiful, and we became really close. And so now the cast and the choreographer are going to a concert, a big I want to say it was like, I don't know if it was a Rolling Stones concert or something, so a rock concert of a very popular group. And the choreographer said to me, we're going to go on this day, on Wednesday. And my friend asked me to go to church with her on Wednesday. And it's a very defining moment in who I became and who I am now. I said, I already have plans. And he said, where? I said, I'm going to church with Dana. And he said, oh, but we're going to all go to this concert. And I said, oh yeah, I was like, I think I'm going to go to church with Dana. And here I haven't even started my career, and I should go. Everything points towards that's what you should do. And I didn't. And I went to church with her, and I wanted to know about, I don't know.
Spirituality, what it felt like.
What it felt like, what it felt like to know, as opposed to how I grew up. You know, I'm a Greek Orthodox. I grew up Greek Orthodox, and I love my faith. I really do. I love my faith and everything we did, and just everything about it. And I love being Greek Orthodox. I'm really proud of that. And so all of that is wrapped into one, you know. So and then I started reading books, and then I became, I don't know, more immersed in just knowing and understanding who God is to me and what that feels like, and just the spirituality, and just everything, anything that has truth, I'm open to listening to. I've always been so open to hearing, even if it's not something I believe in. I just want to hear what anybody's truth is, you know, just to hear it, you know. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm just very open, because I ask that of dancers. You have to walk into the room and be open. You may not want to do that, this, that, or the other thing, but if you're not open, what is there really to talk about? I mean, what are we talking about, you know? So
yeah.
that's how my spirituality, and I'm very much into meditation, and yeah, I love it. I don't know how people are alive without it. It's really, you know, it's fun, you know. I've really learned a lot, and I'm still.
I want to say, and you're still learning. Is that what you were going to say? I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, please interrupt, because I'm interrupt anything you want. There's like
no, and I appreciate you letting me interrupt. But know this about, I'm going to say something. Your realness tonight, I love it. I think we're living in a time the realness is about to become the priority. What are your thoughts on that? I'm going deeper.
Now I'm going to interrupt you. Well, I'm going to interrupt you and just tell you that my realness I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Wait, no offense to Brooklyn, New York, or Long Island. Here goes this. It was a tough town to run dance competitions in, because people spoke their mind. That was the kindest way to say it. So go on.
Yeah, I've always been real. I'm always real when I teach my classes. And the thing we could talk so long about it. But it's like, you know, my career has been in Hollywood, and in, you know, surrounded by, I don't know, Hollywood and television and film and this, that, the other thing. And I have spent the last 25 years, working tirelessly to separate what I do and who I am. Because what I do is not who I am. It's just what I do. And it's a part of me is immersed in what I do, but and here's the thing, I think you have to speak to people live and in person in order to know. Because if you look at something and you look at, you know, obviously the world that we've been living in technology and social media and whatever is great, and so many good things. But for me, how are you supposed to understand anything if you haven't actually talked to the person? You haven't met them. You haven't had a conversation, a real understanding of something. And so I feel that I spent the last 25 years making sure that I am not just my work and it doesn't define me. And it is,
What
I
do
am,
you say to people who think
well, I think
it does define you?
it,
Okay, you get my question,
yes,
sort
it's
of.
very difficult. This is a very difficult subject matter and nobody has to really agree. And I don't even know that
It's okay.
I don't even know that I have the best words, but I'll try. To me, like the things that I look at that seem like, I don't even know, like otherworldly and like fame and success and money and star power, celebrity, all this stuff to me, I just is a great thing. However, it's just how you look at it. And I have spent the last 25 years making sure that no, that's not it's not something that I idolize, let's just say that. Yeah. Because I am so very rich in friends and my tribe of friends and the life that I've created through dance. Dance is what can do anything for anybody. I mean, because the work ethic, the simple word loyalty, that simple word, the characteristics that a dancer can possess and that we do is loyalty and kindness and and uh, hardworking and work ethic and commitment to what it is. And so the real thing that you're talking about, I've always felt very real, even in when I felt like I was even when I was like a brat, thinking that, like when I was 18 and I'm a brat and I would just, and I was competitive and all these things that, but at the core, I had all the good, I had all the good notes and I just, it took me a little longer to get to it, but I got to it eventually. And I learned that, and staying connected. And for me, like one of the things that I feel very proud of is that I never forgot anyone that has ever looked my way and gave me a shot or a break. Like I sent Paula Abdul a message, just, she like basically founded me, my career in Los Angeles. She looked my way and she gave me an opportunity and paved a way. If anybody paved a way for me, I still am on the phone with them or sending them messages. Marianne Lamb and I had never forgotten her. I literally, like, she's like literally in my mind when I'm creating and when I'm doing things, or, it's like always there. And like, I never forgot Jodie Goodman. I never forgot whatever. And I'm really not trying to pat myself on the back at all. The point is and the difference, and the difference is that I'm trying to share what my thought process is. So it's not,
You're doing an excellent job at it, my friend.
I'm not, because that's people can interpret things the way they want to. Oh yeah, yeah, his name, yeah, that's Keith. Oh yeah, Janet Jackson named him that. You know what I'm saying? So
I do.
you have to actually talk to someone and find out what the truth is before.
But I want to say something to you for all the people who are learning the truth tonight about the soul of Tyce Diorio. This is one thing, I'm giving you a little motivational talk here. You were always confident enough not to listen and move on in whatever way that you thought felt natural and instinctual.
Mhm.
And that proved to everybody that you were passionate, you weren't stopping anywhere, and that was confidence in yourself. And that's how you became Tyce that everybody knows. But you're real, just like everyone else.
Thanks. I try. I don't know. I mean, I just do what I think is good, and I know that I'll learn. It's like we go in phases in our lives, and it's like you learn things, and then you think that at the end of, like, say 10 years, from 2010 till now, and then 2020 hits, and now I'm like, look back, and I'm thinking, oh, there's some new things that I need to incorporate now into my life that I don't think I knew. And now it's like I have to I have to make space for those new things and I learned through watching different, especially now in our technology world, driven world. And it's like, I now in this time I've been following different people that have like-mindedness that I have, and I've been listening to the things that they, and I was like, wow, that sounds so cool. I think I might need a little pinch of that salt, or dose of that or whatever, you
For,
know.
I want to say this to you. You realize that this is the time you can do anything right now,
Right?
like everything. Now, I'm not talking about having big money to invest,
Uh,
but what's in your soul that you've been thinking for years you'd like to try? This is it.
well, you know what's crazy? I mean, I have a really good time on my, what is it, my live Instagram? Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I have a good time on my live Instagram, and I like go on there, and I kind of look at it like a hangout session, because I don't really want to talk too much, because I always find that like when I'm listening to people talk for too long, I'm thinking that, and this is the judgmental part of me, I'm thinking, I'm always like, stop talking. I don't want to, you know what I mean? So I don't want to ever be that person. But then again, when I go on it, it's like a hangout session. I play good music. I'm watching Chopped. I watch Fixer Upper, and people, we just hang out, and people say hi and ask me questions, and maybe I answer them, maybe I don't, or it's just kind of casual. And and even like when this quarantine moment happened, and I kind of think, I mean, I kind of think it's necessary.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that like what's happening globally, with the coronavirus. I mean, that's very unfortunate, and we'll get past it, and we will. But I think that the reset and the pause button is actually really good, actually.
I know, and that's hard for people who are
Yeah,
struggling to
yeah,
say or hear, but there
yes.
will be positive no
There
matter
will be
where you're at. And
positive.
most people are in the same place right now.
Absolutely. It's confusing. It's a roller coaster. One day you're up, the next day you're down. That's all normal. That's just the human condition, of course. But there's something, I mean, if you're going to give a dancer lemons, they're going to make lemonade, you
Yeah,
know?
gypsies. That's what I keep thinking about myself, my mother, my heritage, all dancers, all the ones you know from Broadway. We are gypsies. If you take us back to having to cook in a microwave and eat what's available and
Right.
drive cars that really don't work very well, we will know how to do it because we're gypsies.
And if you're trained,
Correct. And you're willing.
training is key.
So, Tyce, I want to say this, and I want our listeners to hear this because I'm putting you on the spot. But I'm sitting here with my red pen and these questions that I had, and I didn't get to ask a lot.
Yeah.
Will you do this again with me? I don't want to commit you to a certain time, but maybe in a week or so, will you do this with me again?
Yeah. Do you think your listeners will want to hear me again?
Absolutely.
I mean,
You
I
want to know what I'm honored about?
what?
Being able to have a conversation with you that I really wanted to get deeper into you. See all those pictures behind you and all the moments in your life.
Yeah.
One day I want to ask you about each one of those and what they mean, but right now I wanted to get into a dancer's soul, and you allowed me to do that.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. I mean, that would be great.
Give me a fist bump.
Hmm.
Okay. See you again soon.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Want some final words of wisdom? 30 seconds for you, buddy. Go on a roll.
I hope that just by, I don't know, my words maybe inspire somebody, because I've been listening to certain podcasts, and I've been looking at people's live Instagrams, even when they're just sitting on their couch doing nothing, and it's kind of like it's brought a lot of peace to my soul and my spirit, and it's really invigorated and inspired and motivated me in the smallest way. So I hope that my words maybe brought people some light, or it was just a fun time.
They did, and I'm confident that they did. I'm not just saying that.
Okay, good.
So, to our listeners, tomorrow night, tune in 8 o'clock. Terry Mangiarati will be joining us, studio owner, we're going to talk about being 2 weeks into this and how she's handling it from a business and emotional perspective. Thank you again, Tyce.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, everybody who tuned in, and have a good night.
Yes. Bye.